I am your host, G.I. Wingnut, and I would like to welcome you back to my channel. Today we are continuing with 1952 and a planned deception. In today's episode, we will be taking a look at World Goodwill, Lucis Trust. Now, there may already be some of this information well known by some of you. Others, I hope that it provides you with an education. I know that doing these digs are helping me learn more. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on into the program. So, using my favorite browser and utilizing its I shortened up this research considerably because, yeah, it helped me consolidate a bunch of stuff I already knew, which is important because otherwise I get off on wild tangents. Anyway, so Goodwill, Lucis Trust. We've got some reading to handle here today, so I don't have very many tabs, but there's still going to be a lot of information here. Goodwill, Lucis Trust. Goodwill and Lucis Trust are two organizations that share a common goal of promoting goodwill and unity among individuals and nations. Here's a breakdown of their history, beliefs, and activities. Lucis Trust was founded in 1922 by Alice Bailey and her husband Foster Bailey. The organization is headquartered in New York City and has offices in London and Geneva. Lucis Trust is a non-profit organization that aims to promote the teachings of Alice Bailey, a theosophist and mystic who claimed to have received guidance from the Tibetan masters. There's a whole lot to unpack there, but if you want a deeper look, I suggest you go over and check out Magical Mystery Church and the breakdown she did on mysticism and the mystic masters, the ascended masters, and how actually they're descended masters. Anyway, moving right along. World Goodwill. World Goodwill is an organization founded by Alice Bailey in 1932 to apply her teachings in the social context. It is a subsidiary of Lucis Trust and is dedicated to promoting goodwill and unity among individuals and nations. World Goodwill has its offices in New York City, London, and Geneva, and is involved in various activities aimed at fostering goodwill and cooperation among people from different backgrounds and cultures. Beliefs and teachings. Both Lucis Trust and World Goodwill are based on the teachings of Alice Bailey, which emphasizes the importance of goodwill, love, and service to humanity. They believe that humanity is evolving toward a higher state of consciousness and that individuals can play a role in this process by cultivating goodwill and working together towards a common goal. Okay, so that gets me to a reference of Helena Blavatsky, which I'll get to at a point in the future. I think I may have already done a video that's on BitChute. I'll see if I can find it and post it over here on YouTube. But Alice Bailey and her root races ideology, bad mojo. Bad mojo. Gives us a lot of the modern conspiracy theories about ancient aliens and all that. Really discounts the human mind and the human ability to problem solve. Really diminishes the human view of fellow humans. Anyway, back to this. Activities and initiatives. Lucis Trust and World Goodwill engage in various activities aimed at promoting goodwill and unity, including publishing books and materials on spirituality and theosophy. Sounds a little bit like Scientology. Sort of sounds like some of those evangelical preachers over there in the New Apostolic Reformation, too, just saying. Next bullet point. providing educational programs and courses on the teachings of Alice Bailey. Huh. That brings to mind applied scholastics and how it's actually is a Scientology front group. Interesting. Next bullet point: organizing conferences and seminars on topics related to goodwill and unity. So that sounds a little bit like the Reawakening tour to me. I could be wrong, but I've noticed some patterns of behavior in folks involved in the Reawakening tour that definitely seem to have certain theosophical ideologies. Anyway, moving on. So, next bullet point: supporting initiatives and organizations that promote goodwill and cooperation among people from different backgrounds and cultures. That sounds like a good idea to me, but there are areas of extreme ideologies where I'm not seeing that happening, specifically over in the New Apostolic Reformation or any other group that strongly promotes an us-them sort of mentality. And the last bullet point: providing guidance and support to individuals and groups working towards the development of a more united and harmonious world. We'll get deeper into that towards the end. Notable figures: Alice Bailey, the founder of Lucis Trust and World Goodwill, is a prominent figure in the history of theosophy and spirituality. She is known for her writings on spirituality and theosophy, which have been widely read and studied around the world. So is Scientology. Anyway, other notable figures associated with the Lucis Trust and Goodwill include Foster Bailey, who was Alice Bailey's husband and a prominent theosophist in his own right, and John Michael Greer, a modern theosophist and occultist who has written extensively on the teachings of Alice Bailey. I may have to do a side insert on that real quick. I'm going to have to look at his name because Greer pops off the page at me, and I didn't notice that earlier. And in this last section, controversies and criticism. Lucis Trust and World Goodwill have been subject to some controversy and criticism over the years. Some critics have accused the organization of promoting a form of spirituality that is too focused on individual enlightenment and not enough on social justice and human rights. Others have criticized the organizations for their ties to the United Nations and other international organizations, which some see as evidence of their involvement in a globalist agenda. Yeah, I would fall in that others category for sure. Overall, Lucis Trust and World Goodwill are organizations that aim to promote goodwill and unity among individuals and nations. While they have been the subject of some controversy and criticism, they have also been praised for their efforts to promote spiritual growth and cooperation among people from different backgrounds and cultures. Man, oh man, if that doesn't sound like an apologist statement to me. I could be wrong, though. What do I know? I grew up in a cult. Okay, so I took a quick look at John Michael Greer, and now I remember why his name sounds familiar to me. John Michael Greer is a widely read author, blogger, and astrologer whose work focuses on the overlaps between ecology, spirituality, and the future of industrial society. He served 12 years as Grand Archduke of the Ancient Order of Druids in America and remains active in Druid nature spirituality as well as several other initiatory traditions. Ancient Order of Druids. That's where I know his name from. When I was doing some studies, I back in my day when I was actively studying esotericism with the idea of trying to practice it, which, by the way, it didn't work for me. I must have read some of his materials. Anyway, further introduction, and then we'll get back to the topic at hand. Greer is a prolific writer with over 40 books to his credit, including the New Encyclopedia of the Occult, the Druidry Handbook, the Celtic Golden Dawn, and Circles of Power, an introduction to Hermetic magic. He is also a respected scholar and practitioner in the occult field, with expertise in alchemy, Kabbalah, tarot, and other esoteric traditions. By the way, if you don't know, the whole Golden Dawn thing is related to the Rosicrucians and definitely has connections to Aleister Crowley. Kabbalah, we've been seeing a lot of that over here in the New Apostolic Reformation stuff, and I find it rather disturbing. Back to this little introductory blurb. Greer's work often explores the connections between spirituality, ecology, and the future of industrial society, and he is known for his insightful and accessible writing style. He has also been a prominent voice in the peak oil movement and has written extensively on the topic of energy and the future of industrial society. Interesting. I wonder if that means he's involved in the whole. That sounds to me like he might potentially be one of the movers behind the ecology movement. I'm wondering. I might have to look into that deeper at some point in the future. Anyway, key points. He's an author and blogger with a focus. Yeah, I've already read that twice. Grand Archduke, prolific writer, expertise in alchemy, Kabbalah, tarot, and other esoteric traditions. Respected scholar and practitioner of the occult field, known for his insightful and accessible writing styles, and has written extensively on the topic of energy and the future of industrial society. Anyway, that's John Michael Greer in a nutshell. So I'm not going to spend much time on, in fact, I'm really not going to spend any time on Lucis Trust in particular, but I am at the World Goodwill, lucistrust.org. This is on the lucistrust.org website. World Goodwill, and this is from their About page. And this is a lengthy read. I'm going to try to get through it all in one go. Goodwill is one of the most basic spiritual qualities of the human being and the great untapped resource of the heart, or at the heart of every human community. People of goodwill are those who think and act with a measure of loving understanding and of concern of well-being of all, or of the well-being of all. The energy of goodwill is potentially a powerful force for social change, yet its power remains largely unorganized and underutilized. World Goodwill fosters understanding of this energy and the role it is playing in the development of the new humanity. It is the thoughtful, planned action of networks of goodwill that is driving the response to all the problems of our age, from poverty, poisoned race relations, and environmental destruction through to sentimental spirituality, despair in thinking about the future, and the crises of materialism and selfishness. People of goodwill from all cultures, faiths, and professions are creating, through their words and actions, a new world where sharing, cooperation, and right relations are taking root and spreading. Never before in the history of the planet has goodwill been so active. Okay, so right relations, that harkens me back to what we covered in the Buddhist traditions. And never before in the history of the planet has goodwill been so active. Man, I think I've heard L. Ron Hubbard and David Miscavige both say the same thing to their Scientology followers. Anyway, moving on. The diversity and variety of initiatives means that the people of goodwill can never be organized into one unitary movement or network. Every community has its people of goodwill. Oh boy. See, fully quantitative statements like that. Every community has its people of goodwill. Um, I'll beg to differ with that. I know some communities where I seriously doubt goodwill exists at all. I mean, if they want to purge you from society because you don't believe the same as they do, that's not goodwill. Anyway, I digress. Moving right along, it is goodness and love in their most basic human experiences that are driving the momentum of change, challenging all the habits of separative thinking and action. Recognition of the sheer abundance of goodwill action as it exists today and the countless movements drawing on the energy of goodwill changes the way we see what is happening in the world. Well, there's no way I could get through that sentence in one breath. It is empowering and it gives us grounds upon which hope and faith in the future can grow. And there's some communities I'm aware of that don't have any hope in the future. Just saying. Truly, goodwill has a potential to become the keynote of a new civilization of wholeness. Back to that Blavatsky stuff. Continuing. To bring in the new day and the human well being, which is our spiritual birthright, we need a deeper sense of reality based on spiritual values and a new perception of humanity as a unit of divine love within an ordered and purposive universe. The following 6 recognitions can provide a basis for this deeper understanding. Okay, all right, let's do this. Number 1, humanity is not following a haphazard or uncharted course. There is a plan. Yeah, there is. Yeah, they have a plan. Alice Bailey definitely has a plan. Uh, I'll I'll I'll. There's too much to add it in today, but I think I've mentioned it before. If not, I will. I will do a quick blurb reading through what Alice Bailey's plan actually is. Anyway, moving on. This plan has always existed and is part of the greater design of the cosmos. The plan has worked out through the evolutionary developments of the past and because of the special impetus given it from time to time by the great leaders, teachers, and initiatives of the human race. This leads to the second key recognition. Number 2, there exists an inner spiritual governance of the world led by enlightened beings whose ideas inspire all forward thinking evolutionary progress in human consciousness. They are known under such different names as the spiritual hierarchy, the Society of Illuminated Minds, or Christ and His Church, according to the various spiritual traditions. Humanity is never left without spiritual guidance or direction under the plan. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Trust the plan. Not. There's reasons why I don't do the Q stuff, or as some call it, the letter after P. I might be a little more boldly stated than others, and I may have just risked getting this video challenged, but hey, I'm just speaking the truth as I see it. Number 3, there is a widespread expectation that we approach the age of Maitreya, as it is known in the East, where the world teacher and present head of the spiritual hierarchy, the Christ, will appear among humanity to sound the keynote of a new age. Interesting. Interesting. Still got a lot to get through. I'm going to try to minimize my comments. Number 4, there are millions of mentally alert people in all parts of the world who are in touch, either subconsciously or consciously, with the plan and work to give it expression. In them, the consciousness of humanity is one interdependent unit, or as one interdependent unit, is alive and active. They regard the many differing national, religious, and social systems in which we serve as modes of expanding human consciousness and ways by which humanity learns needed lessons. Through their living example, they give humanity a new, better vision of what life should be. Number 5, the heart of humanity is sound. Our era is notable for growth of goodwill and altruistic endeavor. All the crises, war, and catastrophes of the 20th century and 20th and 21st centuries have been unable to crush the human spirit. Okay. Yeah, I agree. The human spirit is considerably more resilient, or has that potential, than most people are willing to recognize. That does require a specific level of interaction, from what I understand, with what is perceived as the real world. Or, in the words utilized to go clear, as they say in Scientology, I create my own reactive mind and I'm not doing it anymore. In other words, everything is just made up and I'm not going to react to it. It's all just a bunch of nonsense to control my mind. Anyway, I'm digressing. Number 6, the plan for humanity is based on the principles of sharing, cooperation, practical brotherhood, right relationships between all people and between nations, and goodwill in action. Again, with the right relationships. There, it sounds like the plan is just to get you to follow their teachings and their ideologies. Mind control. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Anyway, these recognitions give a new perspective on spiritual reality and place our present crises in a wider context. They provide opportunity for cooperation with the spiritual evolution of humanity and increase our capacity for freedom. There is no group so likely to ensure that humanity achieves this most difficult goal as people of goodwill. Provided they can overcome inertia, they are in key position, requiring only courage to express goodwill and to initiate action to prepare for a new global civilization, a new world order. Anyway, organization. Founded in 1932 as an activity of Lucis Trust, World Goodwill programs and publications are administered by an international group operating through headquarters in London, New York, and Geneva. There is no membership, and programs are available to all people of goodwill without charge. The work is funded entirely by donations. Wow, that sounds an awful lot like Scientology stuff, till they get you in the door. Along countless other groups, World Goodwill is an accredited non-governmental organization with the Department of Public Information at the United Nations. It maintains informal relationships with a wide range of national and international non-governmental organizations. The Lucis Trust is on the roster of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. World Goodwill strongly believes that the UN should be supported as the main hope for humanity's future. And if you will remember, when I was covering the Buddhist stuff, the United Nations believes that Buddhism will save humanity. So there's that thought. Continuing. Objectives. In promoting recognition of the power of goodwill in our time, World Goodwill has three primary objectives: to help mobilize the energy of goodwill through education and through subtle action with the programs that draw on the power of thought. I've heard the New Apostolic Reformation and other evangelical groups talking about manifesting things. Declare and decree, make it happen, sow that monetary seed so God will give you back more. Anyway, draw on the power of thought. Continuing. At the heart of every human being, there is a reservoir of goodwill accomplished by deeper warrior-like qualities, the will to do good and the will to do love. Okay, so at the heart of every human being, there is a reservoir of goodwill, is actually the flip side of Jungian philosophy. Carl Jung believed that all humans are inherently evil. The deeper warrior-like qualities, the will to do good and the will to do love. In the tabletop gaming world, in Dungeons and Dragons, there is a character category called Paladin, and they tend to do what they feel is the right thing to do in their own eyes in the moment, and sometimes it can have rather catastrophic consequences. The story of Don Quixote being a great example. Anyway, moving on, the second bullet point. To foster a universal spiritual perspective on the future, centered on the idea that all faiths throughout history have anticipated an age of peace and justice, ushered in by a world teacher who embodies divine principles. The rising tide of goodwill in the world today is a sign that the appearance of such a teacher, expected by different traditions under such names as the Christ, the Kalki Avatar, the Bodhisattva, Bodhisattva. I've always had trouble with that word, but that's a Buddhist acolyte, spiritual leader. Lord Maitreya, the resurrected Buddha. The Imam Mahdi, that's the Islamic version of the end days Savior. Some might refer to him as an Antichrist. And the Messiah is now imminent. So we've got Christianity, we've got Judaism, we've got Hinduism, we've got Buddhism, all mixed together. Interesting combination. And the final bullet point on that, to study the causes of major world problems in such a way as to reveal universal principles, spiritual practices, and actions that contribute to healing, transformation, and the resolution of the problem. Again, getting back to that whole thing that L. Ron Hubbard has about body thetans, being the cause of all ills, or certain evangelicals and demonic nonsense. Anyway, I'm not saying that evil powers don't exist. I'm just saying sometimes they're granted a bit too much credit, in my personal opinion. So, mobilizing goodwill. Focused, enlightened public opinions can be a major factor in world reconstruction. But it has been little used up until now. The major need today is to educate world public opinion in the significance of goodwill as a powerful, creative energy and way of life, and to mobilize people everywhere to establish goodwill as the keynote of the coming new civilization. World Goodwill aids in this task by advertising individuals and groups on how to increase their effectiveness in service, cooperating with the world service activities of other groups, supporting the work of the United Nations and its specialized agencies as a main hope for humanity's future, including a blog and Facebook page on World Goodwill at the United Nations. Scientology does that too. So do the Mormons, as a matter of fact. Moving on. Meditating on the energy of Goodwill Meditation Group, the cycle of conferences helping create a positive mental climate for conferences taking place on specific world problems, and the 12 spiritual festivals, focusing on spiritual energies available within the annual lunar cycle. There's so much to unpack there. I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm hoping that maybe you catch on to what they're getting at with everything we got going on. Continuing, a worldwide educational program which includes, oh boy, this should be fun, a website and publications in many languages presenting the principles underlying right human relations and the fact of a divine plan as a spiritual reality working out in crucial areas of human affairs, including education, religion, economics, politics, etc. Publications are available for distribution. World Goodwill newsletter, commentaries, and worldview articles highlighting the energy of goodwill in world affairs, a universal spiritual approach as presented on topics of current concern. Study papers dealing with some of the world's major problems. World Goodwill Seminar, an annual meeting in London, New York, and Geneva through meditation, talks, and discussion of the work of groups and individuals actively meeting world need is highlighted. Broadcast globally on video. So, for some reason, I'm thinking on this meditation thing about something that Yuri, I'm struggling to remember his last name. Hang on a second. Let me throw the clip in here real quick. Yuri Bezmenov. That's the name I was trying to remember. Anyway, here's the clip that I'm thinking of, and I've sped it up for time constraints.
The KGB was even curious about this gentleman. It may look innocent. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, a great spiritual leader, or maybe a great charlatan and crook, depending on from which side you're looking at him. Beatles were trained at his ashram in Hardwar in India how to meditate. Mia Farrow and other useful idiots from Hollywood visited his school, and they returned back to United States absolutely zonked out of their minds with marijuana, hashish, and crazy ideas of meditation. To meditate, in other words, to isolate oneself from the current social and political issues of your own country. To get into your own bubble, to forget about troubles of the world. Obviously, KGB was very fascinated with such a beautiful school, such a brainwashing center for stupid Americans. I was dispatched by the KGB to check what kind of VIP Americans attend this school.
That's you on the left.
Yes, I'm on the left. I was trying to get enrolled in that school. Unfortunately, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi asked too much. He wanted $500 American for enrollment. But my function was not actually to get enrolled in the school. My function was to discover what kind of people from the United States attend this school. And we discovered that, yes, there are some influential members of family, public opinion makers of United States, who come back with the crazy stories about Indian philosophy. Indians themselves look upon them as idiots, useful idiots. To say nothing about KGB, who looked at them as extremely naive, misguided people. Obviously, a VIP, say a wife of a congressman, or a prominent Hollywood personality, after being trained in that school, is much more instrumental in the hands of manipulators of public opinion and KGB than a normal person who understands, who looks through this type of fake religious training.
Why would they be more susceptible to manipulation?
I just mentioned that because, you see, a person who is too much involved in introspective meditation. You see, if you carefully look what Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is teaching to Americans, is that most of the problems, most of the burning issues of today can be solved simply by meditating. Don't rock the boat. Don't get involved. Just sit down, look at your navel, and meditate. And the things, due to some strange logic, due to cosmic vibration, will settle down by themselves. This is exactly what the KGB and Marxist-Leninist propaganda wants from Americans, to distract their opinion, attention, and mental energy from real issues of the United States into a non-issues, into a non-world, non-existent harmony. Obviously, it's more beneficial for the Soviet aggressors to have a bunch of duped Americans than Americans who are self-conscious, healthy, physically fit, and alert to the reality. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi obviously is not on the payroll of the KGB. But whether he knows it or not, he contributes greatly to demoralization of American society. And he's not the only one. There are hundreds of those gurus who come to your country to capitalize on naivete and stupidity of Americans. It's a fashion. It's a fashion to meditate. It's a fashion not to be involved. So obviously, you can see that if KGB were that curious, if they paid my trip to Hardwar, if they assigned me to that strange job, obviously they were very much fascinated. They were convinced that that type of brainwashing is very efficient and instrumental in demoralization of the United States.
Our conversation with Yuri...
Useful idiots staring at their navel. Who'd have thought that intelligence communities would get into all that? So, let's get right on back to this article. I want to try to finish this up because I got a few more tabs I need to share up. The reappearance of the Christ. This is a time of preparation, not only for a new civilization and culture, but also for the coming of a new spiritual dispensation. I'm hearing a lot of that over in the New Apostolic Reformation as well. Continuing. At the end of an age, human resources and established institutions seem inadequate to meet world needs and problems. At such a time, the advent of a teacher, a spiritual leader, or avatar is anticipated and invoked by the masses of humanity in all parts of the world. I think I remember some sort of reference in the book of Revelation in the Bible about people will be calling for a Messiah in human form. I don't think it's Donald Trump. Anyway, moving on. Today, the reappearance of the world teacher, the Christ, is expected by millions, not only by those of Christian faith, but by those of every faith who expect the avatar under other names. The Lord Maitreya, Krishna, Messiah, Imam Mahdi, and the Bodhisattva. I got through it that time. Distortion and misunderstanding surround this central fact of divine response to human need. This is inevitable but unimportant. The fact of transition into a new age is important. Preparation by people of goodwill is needed to introduce new values for living. New values? What do they mean by new values? Anyway, new standards of behavior, new attitudes of non-separateness and cooperation, leading to right human relations and a world at peace. The coming world teacher will be mainly concerned not with the result of past error and inadequacy, but the requirements of a new civilization with the reorganization of the social structure. Interesting. World Goodwill distributes literature on these themes. A world prayer, the Great Invocation, is distributed on a worldwide scale in many languages and dialects. Scripted prayer. That's not how I understand how it's supposed to work. What do I know? I grew up in a cult. Continuing, World Goodwill also cooperates in organizing the annual World Invocation Day, with special focus on the use of the Great Invocation worldwide. I might have to take a quick look at that if it's not in a moment. And if it's not too long, we may include it, but this is probably already going to be a longer video. Moving right along, the problems of humanity. The problem of establishing right relations between people and between nations is of urgent concern in a world in crisis. Ugh. Is it really in that big of a crisis, or are a lot of these crises prefabricated? Asking for a friend. Continuing. The immediate spiritual problem is that offsetting selfish separateness by the technique of trained, imaginative, creative, and practical goodwill. World Goodwill provides a series of study papers on major problems of human progress. Emphasis is placed upon the underlying causes and emerging trends rather than on a factual survey of events. The use of the trained mind in reflective thought and meditation is encouraged. Wow! Emphasis is placed upon underlying causes and emerging trends rather than on a factual survey of events. All about the feelings? All about the feels. I don't know. If I'm misunderstanding that, please leave a comment in the below the video. I would love to have some feedback on that. I know that I don't have all the answers, but man, I'm seeing a lot of similarities to other culty type groups. So the problems dealt with include the psychological renewal of nations, children, youth, and education. What, education for right think? You've got it all wrong and we've got the answers? Capital, labor, and employment. The racial minorities. Sounds like social justice warrior stuff. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but in the message of Jesus, love one another as I have loved you. Moving right along. The churches and organized religion is one of the problems that they deal with, and international unity. There are many lesser problems, but these are the major ones with which humanity is at this time confronted and which must find solution. This will be done by establishing of right human relations. You've got it wrong. We've got it right. What? Oh my goodness. Anyway, the formation of study groups is encouraged so that through study, discussion, and meditation, a, quote, thought form of solution, end quote, may be generated and local forms of service activity initiated. That reminds me of that Michael Flynn quote, local activism leads to national change or something to that effect. I told you. Anyway, moving on, we're almost done with this. Practical aims. To encourage people of goodwill everywhere to establish right human relations between races, religions, nations, and classes. To assist people of goodwill in their studies of world problems and in the effective application of these problems of goodwill, cooperation, and sharing for the common good. To cooperate with other organizations in constructive activities, contributing to world unity, stability, and right human relations. Well, they like that phrase, don't they? To make available and up-to-date information on constructive current action in the main areas of human life through regular publications on issues of world interest. To aid in establishing goodwill as a keynote of the new civilization. Yep, there's that whole new world order thing again. To create worldwide contact list of people of goodwill. Wow, that sounds like a double-edged sword to me. To support the work of the United Nations and its specialized agencies as the best hope for a united and peaceful world. One world government? One world religion? Anyway. Again, I'm thinking of Yuval Noah Harari and that clip I shared up a while back from that movie THX 1138, where they had digital priests in confessionals with audio recorded responses. And Yuval Noah Harari talking about AI being able to come up with a better Bible. Anyway. And last but not least, on this page, World Goodwill is an activity of the Lucis Trust, which was founded in 1922 and is a registered educational charity in Great Britain. Well, the Theosophical Society is registered as an educational charity in India, which may be why we see so much of that stuff reflected in the politics of India. So that's all for that tab. I got a couple more that I want to bring to you for awareness, and then we'll get this closed out. Okay, just a real quick blurb here. This is from lucistrust.org, world_goodwill/UN_WG. And they say, in order to place a greater focus on the work of the United Nations, and in particular, the Sustainable Development Goals, the blog World Goodwill provides up-to-date reports on important UN meetings and processes. The new Sustainable Development Goals for Humanity set a transformative agenda for the 15-year period, 2015 to 2030. Never before has there been such a broad-based dialogue and negotiation between governments, civil society, business, and academia to determine achievable goals and targets. A Facebook page provides shorter topical coverage. We encourage blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, okay. So there's that real quick insight. So as I was digging through this World Goodwill, Lucis Trust stuff, I became aware of this project, the Consulants Project. And I was like, what is this all about? And this is just a quick tangent, and we're going to get out of here as quick as I can possibly get it done. But this is, there's an article that I'm going to end up having to share either in the description on BitChute or on Rumble over on YouTube. I will provide the link to the tab concerned on my community tab, or under my community tab. So, the Consulants Project, catalyzing a cultural renaissance. The Consilience Project is developing a transmedia body of social theory and philosophy that explains and seeks solutions to the unique challenges we face today. It focuses on deeper generator functions based, or I'm sorry, let me try that again. It's focused on the deeper generator functions beneath the world's major problems, drawing on the best of social theory while showing where existing theories and institutions are no longer adequate to fix the current problem landscape. The aim is to help catalyze a cultural enlightenment that will develop a new set of shared values and capacities adequate to the needs of our time. So, conversational leadership. This is over here at the, this is a blog post about the Consilience project. I wanted to introduce you to an exciting new project initiated by Civilization Research Institute, the Consilience Project, co-founded by Daniel Schmachtenberger. My German's weak. If you are not familiar with Daniel's work, take a look at this video and series on the war on sense making. I'm not going to dive into this. All right, I want to move right along and over to the Civilization Research Institute webpage. The Civilization Research Institute works to support the emergence of a mature global civilization capable of wisely stewarding the unprecedented power of exponential technologies in concert with an enduring, healthy biosphere, while avoiding the twin failure modes of catastrophes and dystopias. Man, if that doesn't scream Scientology, I don't know what does. But then again, L. Ron Hubbard stole his stuff from everybody else. And, well, as we've seen, since Scientology was not officially founded until 1952 and Dianetics was originally published in 1950, it comes well after the happenings that created these ideologies. So, let me try to make that a little bigger. And that didn't work as well as I'd hoped it would. But anyway, the Civilization Research Institute is dedicated to preventing global catastrophic risks and promoting new forms of governance and cooperation. Okay, so they're just another one of those geared towards the New World Order. So, that said, the last tab that I want to share is from the consilienceproject.org, and this is their blog post page. All right, and we're going to take a look at this real quick. This is the link that I'm going to drop for you. How to mislead with facts, and we're going to take a real quick peek at that, and then get out of here because I'm windy. Anyway, the end games of bad faith communication about consilience technology is not values neutral. That's so true. Ending the reign of nihilistic design. Now, actually, it's not that true because technology is inherently neither good nor bad. So it is inherently neutral. But the values applied to that technology is what removes it from being neutral. L. Ron Hubbard loved making reference to the technology, which is why in the anti-Scientology protests, you'll see them make reference to like chalk tech whenever they're using sidewalk chalk to openly annotate on the sidewalks that Scientology is a cult, and it's a horrible one. They do human trafficking and a lot of other things that are just really horrible. Anyway, how to mislead with facts. Real quick glance at the opening paragraph only, just to tease your interest. Fact-checking has become popularized as the definitive process for certifying truth in the media. This has occurred in response to the proliferation of a wide variety of internet subcultures, often based largely upon misinformation. Propaganda and bad faith communications are all too common. making the checking of facts an important part of sense making. Yeah. Yeah, there. So yeah, there is a whole community out there of fact checkers. It's the 17th letter of the alphabet, letter after P, first letter of the word queen, which actually it's not that bad of a band. Anyway, thanks for hanging out to the end of this. If you are not subscribed, please, I would appreciate that. That definitely helps the algorithm. Like and share this video to anybody that you might think will find it to be beneficial. Thanks for hanging out to the end. If you've made it this far, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or whatever time period you're catching this on. And I'll catch you in the next video.